today's episode of Phinside The NFL, we are going to preview the Miami Dolphins defense and special teams heading into training camp. Also, I'm going to give prospect profiles on Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara. That'll include my scouting report, how I see them fitting in, as well as all 22 for said players. So we got about 12 minutes of all 22 between the two of them. Plus, hey, Tua and Mike McDaniel get compared to Drew Brees and Sean Payton by one of Tua's biggest detractors. Terron Armstead talks about Tua's deal. Man, we got a ton to talk about today. Do me the favor, smash the like button on this midday matinee on this beautiful Saturday. Subscribe if you're new. Training camp starts next week. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Finn Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I appreciate all y'all coming through. Y'all remembering the intro and loving the intro. Y'all know what time it is. Listen, and we're gonna be upgrading that intro very, very soon. Don't you worry about that in the slightest. All right. Anyways, listen. I appreciate all y'all for coming through on this evening. Well, this day. It is the middle of the day on this beautiful Saturday. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Man, we got a ton to talk about with Tua. If you are a Patreon or a channel member, go head over. I had a lot of info in terms of I'm hearing the range Tua is looking for in terms of guaranteed money. What else did I have on that? Also, I heard the latest I've heard on Jordan Love's deal is in that in terms of what I'm hearing it'll be announced and what I'm hearing in regards to the money. So go check that out on the Patreon and as well over on the community tab for YouTube channel members only. If you haven't had a chance, we had a bunch of you in the live stream. And if you haven't had a chance, though, go check out that interview that I had with Cam Wolf. Phenomenal stuff. Great information from Cam Wolf. I mean, listen, talks about Devontae Adams and Brandon Ayuk. Not even non-Dolphin, not even Dolphin stuff. On the non-Dolphins topic, look at what he says, that the Patriots are a team to quietly watch in the AFC East, sniffing around their markets because they were sniffing around hard with Debo and Ayuk heading into heading into the draft. So, man, the Patriots, they want to load up for Drake May. It looks like they're taking it much more seriously than Belichick ever did. So, listen, everyone knows Drake May was my QB1 heading into that draft. It sucks that he's in the division. Sucks. Now I got to root against a guy that I really liked. So, hey, it is what it is, man. Coach AJ says, appreciate the update. Reason, appreciate you. Mike Rose, appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you, son. Thank you very much. Rhino Sith, what's going on, sir? Hope you're doing very well. Hope you're doing well. Listen, something I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about. If you didn't know, we've covered them pretty much every time, whether I've talked about them with thoughts on them or whether I brought the articles up on the screen discussing the rankings on ESPN by executive scouts and coaches. We're going to talk about it again today because RG3 had some stern words regarding it. So we're going to talk about it a little bit today again. But they dropped the cornerback rankings. Now, Jalen Ramsey was number 5. Do I agree with that? No. Jalen Ramsey top 3. Easy. All right. I'd put Pat Surtain, Jalen Ramsey, and L'Jarius Sneed would probably be my 3 top corners in the NFL right now. Yes. Is Sauce top 5? Sure. But I kind of agree with what was said, and this is why I'm bringing this up. What was said in that article about Sauce, a high-ranking NFL personnel evaluator said one of the most overrated players in the league. You could call holding on him every play. And I agree with that. And listen, we're Dolphin fans. We regularly see Tua. We regularly see Tua, and we see Jalen Waddle light them up. And I'm talking about the whole secondary. So, I don't know. I can't get on board. Sauce Gardner isn't Revis Island. I've watched. I've watched. I've watched this. I don't know. I've watched this Jets team obviously because I'm a Dolphins fan, even though I despise them. I've watched this and this team for years, and listen, they were more successful under a defensive mind and Rex Ryan than what they are under Saleh. We're up here talking about Saleh being fired, and it's stop acting like we're dealing with Darrelle Revis here. It's ridiculous. The Sauce Gardner love is just a little over the top for me. I'm just saying, So listen, I don't know. I think I agree with that. 110% overrated. 110% overrated. I don't even think it's close. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do not even think it's close. So I know that's the one thing Jets fans are holding the cap on, but Tua and Jalen Waddle, with Tyreek out of the lineup, they light those guys up. Tua's undefeated against them, Hey, people in this fan base say Tua Tagovailoa isn't even a good quarterback. Well, if he isn't a good quarterback and he lights that defense up, including Sauce Gardner regularly, what does that say about that defense then? You can't have your cake and eat it too on that one. I don't know. And all the people that say Tua Tagovailoa isn't a good quarterback are also, a few screws loose in the head, that's for sure. The hollow stats, Number 2 in completion percentage on passes of 20 plus yards last year as well. And they'll still try to spin it to you guys that Tua can't throw deep. What's crazy? If you haven't had a chance, it's actually a pretty funny video. And the guy caught some views off of it. That Seahawks fan, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to watch the Seahawks fan who reacted to all of and he saw the success of reacting to his highlights from last year, so he's doing all the Dolphin players now. But if you go watch, first of all, they didn't have his step up in the pocket. Because I didn't watch NFL now. I didn't watch this NFL highlight reel anyways, but he went over it. First of all, the Tua stepping up into the pocket late in the Chargers game and making that throw to Tyreek isn't on his top 10 best plays of the season, which I thought was crazy to me because they had 2 highlights from that game anyways. But you see his reaction to that. Anyways, you watch the highlights and him go through the highlights. Tyreek and Waddle, this whole notion that they got to hold up and wait for the ball is unbelievably ridiculous. Year 1 in 2022, and this is how you can tell these people have never actually watched this game in depth or never actually studied the quarterback position. Year 1 was all about getting the timing down with Tyreek. That's the only reason why he was slowing down a little bit. That's all it was. Their timing is down 110% now. Everything is in stride. Everything last year was in stride. It's been down with Waddle. Waddle don't have to slow down at all. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about here with this whole. I mean, again, number 2 in completion percentage of passes, 20 yards or more last year. Only Brock Purdy was ahead of him. Brock Purdy 55%, Tua at 50%. What are we talking about here? It's absolutely ridiculous. See, that's the thing. They'll discuss how deadly accurate Tua is on the short to intermediate level, but guys, number 2 in deep completion percentage of 20 plus yards. That's deadly accuracy. What are we talking about? That's deadly accurate. He's accurate on all 3 levels. It's time that discussion happens. He is deadly accurate on all 3 levels. We're just going back to 2022, where he was still getting his body right and learning the time with Tyreek, where Tyreek had to slow down a little bit, and you saw Tua putting more force into more of his body into his throws. Now with his fixed mechanics, you're not going to see the heave-looking motion as much. I think you're going to see a much more fluid motion, and you're going to see the ball travel with much more ease. Listen, we could talk about Tom House. The receipts are out there. Go back and find the Tuesday night panel from 2019 and 2020, and I was the only one in this community discussing Tom House. Hell, I would hit up Nick Hicks when me and Nick Hicks formed a relationship, and I would literally text him, you need to hook him up with Tom House. After what he did with Drew Brees and what he did with Tom Brady after their injuries, I said, you need to hook him up. So I got full faith in what 3D QB is going to be able to do with Tua Tagovailoa and what they're going to turn him into. Full faith. Tua is going to be... I still think what's scary about this is the guy just comes off leading the league in passing the first year he stays healthy, and I still think there's levels to be unlocked with this kid. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Let's not sit here and say Tua Tagovailoa has been maxed out. And I had this discussion. I said, listen, I had this discussion with someone, and I said, listen, look at Tom Brady. You know, and I always bring up how Tom Brady never threw 30 touchdowns in a season until Randy Moss arrived. Right? And we see the type of quarterback Tua is turning into with Tyreek Hill. But then what happened, and I talked about this before, Randy Moss leaves, and you see his game develops, and his IQ develops, and finds another level, another gear, and what happens? Tom Brady all of a sudden can elevate guys like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, et cetera, right? And, you know, Tua's already been elevating guys like Lindbaum Jr. And so he's already shown the ability to elevate players. And let's be honest, as much as Tyreek's elevated him, he's elevated Tyreek. Tyreek's putting up career numbers. So when Tyreek leaves, I totally think, you know, you got to keep Tua and McDaniel together. If you lock down Tua, you cannot fire McDaniel. You have to go through the peaks and valleys. Because back to the Tom Brady thing, look at where Tom Brady was in that offense in year 7, in year 8, as he had already learned with Randy Moss. The thing is, they continued to run an offshoot of the same conceptual offense, whether it was, you know, Josh McDaniels, whoever it was. These guys continued to run an offshoot of their offense. That's what they kept doing, right? And listen, we had it come over the Erhardt-Perkins offensive system. Remember, we had it come over here in year 1 before we fired and replaced with Chan Gailey. But, you know, there's a certain level of comfort you're just going to get at when you get into those years, especially playing with great players along the way. And people even forget, you know, remember, in his early years, they traded for guys like Corey Dillon. You know, people tend to forget that. You know, if you watch ball back then, you remember Corey Dillon for the Bengals and how good of he was one of the best running backs in the league. He was one of my favorite running backs in the league at the time, and they traded for him. So it's not like even when they weren't stacking up a receiver, it's not like they were putting jabronis around him offensively continuously, right? It wasn't until he was well developed and had been in that system for a long time, that they started going with like, the Rex Burkhead and that 3-headed monster where they're just rotating guys in, like the Sony Michels, et cetera, right? LeGarrette Blount, who, how good was LeGarrette Blount in other places? It is what it is. So anyways, hey, it's all about the process, man. It's all about the process. That's it. So listen, again, go check out the Patreon, go check out the channel tab, go check out what I'm hearing in terms of Tua's contract, the money he's looking for, et cetera. So it's a good update for all of y'all. All right. Yeah. People forget about Kevin Falk. Yeah. So anyways, enough of that. Let's get into things because we got a lot to talk about today. Listen, we're going to get into RG3 and everything he had to say about Tua and all that. But I got two things I want to get into first. And we'll start off with, because I haven't been live since it went down. If you did not see, a couple days ago, Salvon Ahmed placed on the active non-football injury list, and Bradley Chubb, Cameron Good, Jalen Phillips, and Isaiah Wynn on the active, physically unable to perform list. Now, a couple things here. Salvon Ahmed, I mean, good luck to you, my friend. Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jalen Wright, you're not beating them out. And A-Chan and Mostert already locked, so pardon me if I don't, really, cry about this. Now, in terms of Bradley Chubb, Cam Good, Jalen Phillips, all expected. Jalen Phillips seems like it's going to be sometime in September, early October. He's back. Bradley Chubb, I'm thinking more, November, maybe December-ish. All depending on where he's at in terms of us in the standings, him and his rehab. The one that I think threw people off a little bit is Isaiah Wynn, but I'll say this. Isaiah Wynn, from what I understand, yes, he was walking around like the locker room after the playoff loss and stuff like that, but it was a pretty serious injury, and that's why he didn't come back. Now, I do expect him to be good to go during training camp. I don't think this is a thing where you're not going to see him, and we got to worry. Now, in the same breath, I will add this. We are already seeing why Cam Wolf comes up here and on this show and says, this offensive line, he's not convinced. Me up here, I've been saying it for how long? Since 2019, I've been saying you got to get this offensive line right. Again, you don't even got to go far back. Look at what we did in 2016. Do you think it's a coincidence that Tannehill's best year happened as a Miami Dolphin before he got hurt? And we went to the playoffs when we had the unicorn line? Do you really think that's a coincidence? Please. That's no coincidence. So we're already seeing that, so that means Lester Cotton and Robert Jones will be getting serious reps until Isaiah Wynn's back. Listen, when you got a Jack Driscoll, Liam Eichenberg battle on one side, you cannot afford to be dealing with guys like that on the other side come regular season. Anyways, those are some roster moves that happened. Let's get into the latest on Tua Tagovailoa. And this is what Jeremy Fowler said.
He's probably going to get it. Tua Tagovailoa in a similar situation with Miami, although I have been told, after asking around the league, that the ballooning quarterback market has thrown a wrench at things just a little bit. You got Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence now making close to $55 million a year. Tua just led the league in passing and showed he could be durable playing 17 games last year. So that cost a great deal of coin. Miami's got to reconcile that and figure it out. But luckily for them, they got about 6 weeks of training camp and preseason to try to hash all that out before week 1. But it does not appear close right now.
Hey, Jeremy.
So there you go. Jeremy Fowler says it does not appear close right now. I'm sitting up here and telling you he is a mouthpiece for Athletes First. So that's Athletes First stance you're basically hearing. I know there's rumblings going on contrary to that. Listen, first of all, before I continue on, 2016, bro. The unicorn line. when we had that left side that was absolutely studly. When Pouncey was on the team. 2016 is the last time we had a studly offensive line. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to go that far back, right? When when Brandon Albert was healthy and Larry Tunsil was next to him, I mean, you're talking about one of the best offensive lines in football. I mean, literally, that offensive line was, you had Jawan James and Jerome Bushrod on the right. I think Anthony Steen had to play some games that year too, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that was the last year we had a top offensive line, I would say. It was 2016. Right? Look at the yards J.J. put on, right? J.J. went off that year. Yeah, so that was the last time. That's why I don't understand. Greer's been around and seen that. What are we saying with our life? Anyways, that offensive line was fantastic. But with Jeremy Fowler saying nothing is close, I mean, I don't get that sense. Both sides pretty much have an understanding of where Tua's camp is looking at in guaranteed money. I know there is a push being made to try and get something done before camp happens. So I can't sit here and go all in and say, yeah, I just can't. I'm sorry. I can't say nothing's close. Do I expect something to happen in the next 24 hours? No. But, listen, I'll say this much. And I said this on the Patreon. I said this on the channel member update too. I do not expect this to reach that time frame between the end of training camp and the regular season. I will be surprised. I do believe listen, I know Cam Wolf came up here and said he doesn't think Mike McDaniel will get involved. I do think there will come a point where Mike McDaniel will get involved. And players are already being vocal about it. So, I don't think... If players are already being vocal about it, what do you think they're going to be like 2 or 3 weeks in having to take reps with Mike White and Skylar Thompson? Ask yourself that. Right? So, listen, Fowler says they're not close. I don't know. He makes it seem like this is just going to drag out, and I don't think that's the case. So, anyways, we'll see how it goes. I expect this to get done during camp, though, at the latest. All right, continuing on here. Terron Armstead talked about Tua's deal, and this is what Armstead had to say.
Do you think he deserves to be paid on par with the best in the league?
Of course, yeah.
Regarding Tua,
it's gonna happen. Of course, we stay out of the numbers and negotiations, but it's gonna happen. We need Tua to go anywhere that we're trying to go. All our dreams, goals, and aspirations is reliant on number one, and the Dolphins know that. The organization know that. The city, the league. So the way they iron out the numbers, all that negotiation gets tough in contracts.
Yeah.
Teams start to bring up bad plays, bad games, injuries. You start to get offended. Like, oh man, that's how you really feel. But it's leverage, and once you peel back those layers and you keep it about the business, it'll get done.
Okay, first thing. All right. Shout out to Kay Adams for getting that sound bite. Go check out Sideline T. They're gonna have Kay Adams on very soon. They got Mina Kimes coming up. They got Travis Wingfield episode 1 dropping this weekend. The Dark Knight, no, bro. Jordan Love's getting extended first. It's that extension's happening this week. That extension is going to get announced this week. It is what it is. All right. But go follow Sideline T to see K. Adams coming up there soon. Now, Terron Armstead, basically, what did he say there to you? Our goals and aspirations, everything we want to do runs through Tua. The organization knows this too. He said it's going to happen. He's going to get paid. It's going to go down. Listen, he's not lying. We've all seen... Go back to Flores. That's why this whole notion that anyone can run this team is ridiculous. Go back to Flores. When we were running a heavy RPO offense, Jacoby Brissett looked like a fish out of water trying to run our offense. All right? Now, flip to these backups we got. You know, even include Bridgewater, because I know certain people love to ride the Bridgewater. When Bridgewater, when he started a game, and when Skylar Thompson started a game, they didn't throw a single touchdown pass to Waddle or Tyreek. Waddle went almost, what did he go for? I think it was like a little over 82 yards a game he was averaging with Tua in the lineup in 2022. He dropped to like 53 yards per game with Tua out of the lineup. What are we talking about here? So, you know, his worth and his value to this team and this offense specifically cannot be understated. You know, that's just what it is. This offense is so catered to a quarterback with the ability to be a high-level processor and throw with anticipation. You know, it's just not many guys can do what he does, and that's why you see guys struggle coming in trying to do this. That's literally it. So, man, again, players continue to go to bat for Tua Tagovailoa. Just saying. And training camp hasn't even started yet. They haven't had to deal with the frustration of dealing with Gavin Hardison, Skylar Thompson, Mike White, etc., etc. Continuing on here, ESPN ex-players explain why its poll is a spit in the face of Dolphins Tagovailoa. In an annual tradition, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler surveyed nearly 80 executives, coaches, and scouts to rank the NFL's top 100 players at 11 different positions. And with regard to Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, a couple of prominent ESPN employees weren't pleased with the network's poll results. Tagovailoa did not crack the top 10 among quarterbacks, but was listed 4th in the honorable mention category, meaning he finished 14th overall. The top 10 in the ESPN survey in order were Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott. QBs 11 through 13, just ahead of Tagovailoa, were Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts. Speaking of Tagovailoa, I feel, and I quote, I feel like everybody knows what he is, a good player, etc., etc. We went over all that, right? So, several ESPN analysts have protested against Tagovailoa's ranking in the poll. Among them, ESPN's Booger McFarland said Tagovailoa's exclusion from the top 10 represents the biggest snub on the list. 4,600 passing yards last season, top 10 QBR. I know everyone says it's because Jalen, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. And listen, I've gone over this, right? With this specific what here, what have I said? I brought up the stats. I've already brought up the stats with you guys when you go over the last 2 years. Guys, more passing yards than Justin Herbert over the last 2 years. That's just a fact. That's literally just a fact. All right? Like, I don't know what else to say, and then when you what is he, number 4 in passing yards over the last 2 years? Only Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and Mahomes have more than him, right? 5th highest completion percentage over the last 2 years. Number 4 in yards per game over the last 2 years. All right, number 5 in touchdown passes over the last 2 years, Tua Tagovailoa. All right, number 2 in quarterback rating over the last 2 years. And just so you know, in none of these, in yards, percentage, completion percentage, yards per game, touchdowns, or quarterback rating, is Justin Herbert higher than him. FYI. So I get it. All of Tua Tagovailoa does is throw the ball accurately, on time, and rhythm, and allow the fast guys to run after the catch. How can this guy not be in the top 10? I have no idea. Former Washington quarterback Robert Griffin III said the biggest snubs in the top 10 were San Francisco's Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa. Tua, to not have him on the list is not only disingenuous, but it's disrespectful. It's a spit in the face. He's been a top 5 quarterback the past 2 years. This poll seems truly based on what you think a quarterback can do, not based on what these men have put on the field. 110%. 110%. That's exactly what I was saying about this list. Listen, I know Omar Kelly went out and put his top 10 quarterbacks in this. I've already said who my top 16 quarterbacks are in the league. But if you missed that, I'll repeat it for y'all so you know. Mahomes at 1, Allen at 2, Burrow at 3, Stafford at 4, Lamar Jackson at 5. And that was hard for me because if he wasn't as good of a weapon, because of how much I don't appreciate him as a passer, he wouldn't be there. I got Purdy at 6. Purdy at 6. I got Tagovailoa at 7. I got Prescott at 8. I got Stroud at 9. I got Herbert at 10. I got Love at 11. I got Goff at 12, which that's the one I think you could argue. You could say to me, hey, Herbert and Goff should be switched. I'd say you're probably right. Rodgers at 13. Cousins at 14. Lawrence at 15. And Hurts at 16. Those are my top half of the league quarterbacks. I mean, what are we talking about here? Lamar Jackson, it was tough to put him there. He didn't even throw for 4,000 yards last year or 30 touchdowns. He won the MVP. Really made it feel like, hey, your team had the best record in the NFL. Here you go. Sorry, in the AFC, which is the hardest conference. Here you go. Jalen Hurts, as a passer, he's not there. He had a down year last year. When you look at the last 2 years, top 5 in yards, number 4 to be exact. Second best passer rating. Top 5 in completion percentage. Number 4 in yards per game. What are we talking about right now? Tua Tagovailoa needs to be yeah, I got Purdy at 6. You damn right I got Purdy at 6. Look at what that meant. All of you want to say, here's the thing. Purdy does a lot of the things Tua does. Tua does a few of them a little bit better. But all of you who say Tua ain't good enough because you don't win the big games, what the hell does Purdy do? The guy went to the Super Bowl last year and would have went to the Super Bowl the year before if he didn't get hurt. So Purdy is the pocket quarterback. Tua is just he wins the games. Now you can sit here and say, well, they have a more complete roster. Whatever the argument you want to make, that's fine. But Purdy done got the resume in the NFC. This is why I keep telling you, 2 in the NFC would roll through the NFC. The problem is he's in the AFC. Look at the guys that I mentioned. The top 3 are in the AFC. Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. Jackson is in the AFC. That's 4 of my top 5. Tagovailoa is in the AFC. I've only got 3 NFC quarterbacks in my top 10. You put Tua in the NFC, they're probably winning the Super Bowl if he's on San Francisco. I'm just saying. Purdy and Tagovailoa are proving all of these people wrong. I keep telling y'all. You know why you got people who detract from Purdy and Tagovailoa in the national media? Because they tried to tell all of you when Lamar Jackson arrived that the pocket quarterback is dead. And they are proving that narrative wrong. The pocket quarterback, just like the running game, will never go away because they're essential to the foundation of this game. Because in the playoffs, you got to win from the pocket. Why do you think Lamar Jackson has the record that he has in the playoffs? You got to win from the pocket. They force you to win from the pocket. You got to run the football and win from the pocket on offense in the playoffs. Listen, I think Tua I think all the things that Purdy does, Tua does a little bit more elite. So I agree with you, Big Nick. But the reason why I got Purdy ahead of him, I truly believe he would have went to back-to-back Super Bowls if he didn't get hurt. And he's gone to the NFC Championship in back-to-back years in first 2 years. He's got a resume. You can't deny it. It is what it is. And I mean, you want to talk about a player, you know, people want to say, well, Tyreek makes Tua. Well, look at Purdy for a sec here too. Go watch that receiver show on Netflix if you haven't had a chance. When they didn't have Debo, Purdy couldn't win. When Tyreek's out of the game, Tua lights up the Jets in this amazing defense, and, you know, Sauce Gardner, no problem. And by the way, if Tua went to the Niners, he wouldn't choke it away. If anyone's going to choke it away, it would be Kyle Shanahan. The choker on that team is Kyle Shanahan, not the quarterback. Just saying. Just putting that one out there. All right. Now, one of Tua's biggest detractors, Colin Cowherd. This is what he had to say on the Tua and Mike McDaniel combination, who ranked number 9 in his top 10 quarterback head coach combos in the NFL.
Number 9, I'd probably go Tua and Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's sort of Kyle Shanahan West. Very clever. When Tua's healthy, there's an argument this is the Brees, Sean Payton relationship. Tua's accurate. Do I think he can go up in cold weather to Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati if it's 13 degrees and windy? Do I think he can go toe-to-toe with a Mahomes or a Josh Allen? No, I do not. But you don't have to play those guys much. Cross your fingers, the weather goes your way.
So even with the weather thing, everyone's going to use yet last year when it was like literally one of the coldest games in NFL history, let alone, 27 mile per hour winds. Why does no one talk about the year before in 2022 that I always bring up? Y'all told me he couldn't play in the snow and he couldn't play in cold weather. Go back and watch the Bills game in Buffalo. Tua didn't choke. Tyreek Hill, Trent Sherfield, and Josh Boyer choked. Tua was one of the best players on the field that game. So, again, it's one of those things. Can Tua do it? Yes. Does he do it consistently enough? No. There you go. Literally goes back to my point. See, people act like Tua can't win in big moments. Tua can't win big games, which is incorrect. This is where context matters. Tua can win in big moments, can win in big games. He just doesn't do it consistently enough. We need him to win those games, and in those moments at a 50 to 60 clip, he's at like a 25% to 33% clip. Perfect example. We needed to win out against Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. We beat Dallas to clinch the playoff spot. We won one of the 3 games, 33%. Perfect example. B, the truth seeker says, differences Purdy has Shanahan. Tua has McDaniel, who fails to in important games. What head coach abandons the run game when his team is winning? McDaniel. See, this is again. Here's the thing. I'm going to bring this up again. All right. I want people to listen to what I say right here. I say it all the time. There's levels to this SHIT when it comes to winning. Okay? The problem you are going through right now is what? Go back to Tua Tagovailoa. Why is Tua Tagovailoa not consistent in those big moments and in those big games like I just told? Why is he showing us he has the ability, but he hasn't shown us he can consistently flash that ability? Why? It goes back to what me and EM Dolphin fans said when Tua was coming out. One of our biggest worries about Tua was what? How many fourth quarters and tense second halves did Tua see at Alabama? Will you actually rack your brain, how many did he see? And I've played the clip on this channel before. Joe Burrow has talked about this. Winning in big moments, winning in big games, especially in that second half and in that fourth quarter, that's an acquired skill. You need reps. You need experience in those moments. The problem is we are going through the growing pains of a player and a coach who are learning to win in those big moments and in those big games together. That's the issue. That's the problem. That's why I give Tyreek Hill a little bit more, crap than I do Tyreek. Sorry, I give it more to Tyreek, a little bit more than McDaniel and Tua. You've already won in those big moments. You've been clutch in those big games. Why are you dropping walk-in touchdowns against Philadelphia that could have changed the course in that game? Why are you dropping touchdowns in 2022 in Buffalo in that weather that would change the course of that game and we'd win? Why are you dropping footballs and then fumbling footballs that get returned for a touchdown in the first half in Germany against your former team that you were talking all that smack about? Why are you dropping footballs to open up the Dallas Cowboys game when we're trying to build momentum that Waddle has to bail you out on the next play? I mean, he has 8 or 9 big moment, big game drops, Tyreek, in 2 years. But he's at least, he's been clutch in big moments for Kansas City. Why is that happening for us? So, but with McDaniel and Tua, they're learning. That's the problem you're going through right now. They both showed you they can win in big games and big moments. They just aren't doing it consistently. But that time is going to run out. Like, this is year 3 together. You guys got to figure this out sooner rather than later. You guys have been together for 2 years. Okay, I get it. Now we're getting into year 3. It's the same thing I say with rookie quarterbacks. After year 3, you can pretty much look at the film and understand what was I saying after year 3 of Tua. I mean, we had a franchise quarterback, but what was I saying after year 2? The film was telling me if you surround him with a better coaching staff and the right personnel on offense, I would literally come up here and say, you could have a franchise quarterback on your hands. Sure enough, they changed over the coaching staff, brought in more talent for him, and now we have a franchise quarterback that we're looking to make the highest paid player in franchise history. So, is what it is. Let's get into my preview for the defense and special teams. And then we got some prospect profiles to go over for you guys, okay? So we got a lot to go over here. Ready? Let's get into it. So, defense. This is what we're looking at right now. At left D end, Zach Sealer, Neville Gallimore, Isaiah Mack, Leonard Payne. Obviously, on Seiler, everything, more weight is going to be shouldered on him this year. No Christian Wilkins. That connection's been broken up. Listen, I expect Gallimore to make it. Isaiah Mack, Leonard Payne, I think it's going to be a hard trek for both of those guys. As far as Seiler, I mean, he's going to be so key to this defense, and his health is going to be so key. You're going to see his snap count get upgraded. Definitely 110%. You are going to see his snap count get upgraded. I mean, there is just simply no doubt about that, at all for me. Listen, we could be sitting at a point in time next offseason where we're either saying, man, Seiler balled out, he's so underpaid, man, what a steal, or we could be sitting here saying, did Christian Wilkins help make him? Now, the last 2 years, he's had over 900 snaps. I don't see, I don't see this becoming an 1,100 snap guy here, but they're going to be leaning on him. T.R. Tart, Benito Jones, Brandon Pilley at nose in the middle. T.R. Tart, obviously weren't off to a good start there in OTAs when we were hearing him having conditioning issues. That man needs to get it cleaned up, because if he does get it cleaned up, now, for all I know, he could be one of those guys, and we've all seen them. If you've played any sport, you've played with guys or girls who they do not look very good at practice. Then come game day, they just find another level, another gear to their game. Hopefully that's the deal with T.R. Tart and what we're seeing right now. With Benito Jones, obviously, remember we originally had him in his draft year. Coming out of college, he was a more refined pass rusher than he was run stopper, which was rare for an interior guy like that. Remember, me and the Dolphin fan were very high on him. We had him, that was Javon Kinlaw's class. We had him in a top 5 in that class. I think he's more seasoned. I think he's going to contribute. I think he makes his team. Brandon Pilley, another year. Everyone's talking about his sister in the WNBA and the years she was having. Listen, I think another year he's going to get more of a shot. We know Fangio wasn't a fan of using young guys. So could Pilley make it? We'll see. But I do think he's going to have a hard time surpassing T.R. Tart and Benito Jones. Other side, right DN, Calais Campbell. Hey, we already know what this is. I don't think the drop-off from Christian Wilkins is going to be super terrible. I really don't. Listen, I get his age, but this guy, he's still playing at a high level. And he played 712 snaps last year. It's not like, he's on a 400 or 500 snap count pitch. He's not. So he can still contribute. Now the rotation behind him, Deshaun Hand, Jonathan Harris, Mario Kendricks. Deshaun Hand, he flashed a few times last year. I expect that to be more of a rotation. I know Calais Campbell last year, he got taken out a little bit too much for his liking. He wanted to be in more, and that Falcons pass rush really dipped when he would come off the field. I mean, that's the type of impact he's making at 37. Now, I still think if you can have T.R. Tart playing at a high level, I don't want to say a high level, but at his best, and Seiler playing at the high level he plays at, you could get away with the rotation behind him. Now, here's where we get into Mike McDaniel type of, terminology and what I'm predicting Weaver to bring over here. Anyways, when you look at the outside linebackers, the edges, all right, Mike McDaniel, what he does is he likes to use rush linebackers and Sam linebackers. Those are who he likes to rush with. All right, that's just his style. And, that's, Odafe Owe was out of the rush linebacker position, right? That's the way he works it. That's how he rolls, man. So what I have here for our rush linebacker, and they based in Baltimore, they were pretty much based out of a 3-4-2. They were more of an under formation, right? And the two edge outside linebackers are called the rush and the Sam, like I said. Right? Rush lines away from the call usually. The Sam aligns to the call. So that's how you got to look at it. All right? So at rush, I got Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, Cameron Good, Ezekiel Vandenberg, Grayson Murphy. Now, I got Grayson Murphy all the way down there, but I think he's going to surprise. Obviously, I don't expect Cam Good back anytime soon, so that's going to give Grayson Murphy some time. Ezekiel Vandenberg, practice squad player last year. I think Grayson Murphy was one of the best at pressure rates in college football last year. So 110%, I think Grayson Murphy, He's a pressure magnet, kind of like what Chop Robinson is. I could really see Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, and Grayson Murphy being your top rush linebackers here when this is all said and done. Mike, David Long, already confirmed he's going to be calling the plays. He's got the green dot on the helmet. Anthony Walker, Channing Tindall. What are we going to see from Channing Tindall this year? I don't know. That's going to be... Anthony Weaver is going to earn some praise if we get some meaningful snaps out of Channing Tindall this year. At will, we got Jordan Brooks, Duke Riley, Cam Brown. Cam Brown's going to make this team, and you'll see why in a little bit here. Duke Riley, Jordan Brooks. Sam, I got Bradley Chubb, Shaq Barrett, Mo Kamara, Quentin Bell. Shaq Barrett, basically, I mean, you can pencil him in at number 1 right there for now. Until Bradley Chubb returns. You know what I mean? Mo Kamara, we're going to talk about him and Chop a little bit more in depth here. That's why I'm not really going off. At right corner, Jalen Ramsey, Ethan Bonner, Storm Duck. I think Storm Duck is going to be a hard, there's a lot of corners in this room. Now, could they keep 6? Maybe. But when you look at, I've separated nickel out here too, right? So... just because of the different formations they'll use now. Obviously, they only field 11, and I put 12 here, but I wanted to be specific a little bit more. At left corner, Kendall Fuller, Cam Smith, Isaiah Johnson. And then at nickel, Cater Kohun, Nick Needham, Ciaran Neal, Jason Mater. Now, see here, when you add in the nickel, right? Jalen Ramsey, Ethan Bonner, Kendall Fuller, Cam Smith, Cater Kohun, Nick Needham, and Ciaran Neal. That's like 7 locks to me. I see a tough time for guys like Storm Duck, Isaiah Johnson, and Jason Mater making this team. I really do. At safety, Jordan Poyer, Marcus May, Javon Holland, and Elijah Campbell seem like your locks. Patrick McMorris, Mark Perry, and Jordan Colbert are going to be the ones fighting for practice squad spots, and if they want to keep a 5th safety. Now, I'll be honest with you. I liked Mark Perry's tape better than what I like Patrick McMorris. Patrick McMorris's tape, you got to go back to like 2021 to start seeing things you like. Some 2022, but you got to go back a couple years to start seeing stuff you like from Patrick McMorris. I liked Mark Perry's tape better. But they drafted Patrick McMorris. And you know what that's going to come down to between Storm Duck, Mark Perry, Patrick McMorris, Jordan Colbert, Isaiah Johnson, and Jason Mater. Which one of you guys are going to be producing for us on special teams? That's what those guys are going to come down to. If you can contribute on special teams, they'll find a roster spot for you. But I do think Jordan Poyer, Marcus May, Javon Holland, and Elijah Campbell are your safety locks. And your corner locks are Ramsey, Bonner, Fuller, Smith, Kohun, Needham, and Ciaran Neal. So that is our defense heading into training camp. We'll do roster predictions and everything as we go along here. I want to do this before I get into the prospect profiles. Switch over to what you can expect a little bit in terms of special teams. Obviously kicking, we got Sanders and Jake Bailey. Man, I wish we got more said. Jake Bailey was just downright awful last year. Should have given the punt god Matt Araiza the shot. Instead, he's going to Kansas City. Jason Sanders, meh. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you about Jason Sanders. Like, he's been clutch in moments, and then other moments he makes you scratch your head. On kick return, I have Braxton Berrios, Malik Washington, and Tajay Washington. And then on punt return, I have Braxton Berrios and Tajay Washington. Now, Tajay Washington is on the pup, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But why do I have those guys and not Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill? Because those guys are too big of assets for you to risk on kick return and punt return. So where I'm at with this is Malik Washington, if you look at his time, in college, last year with Virginia, he was returning kicks. He had 13 returns for 274 yards. He averaged about 21.1 yards per attempt. Tajay Washington, when you go back, whether Memphis or USC, he was used in kick returns as well. All right. He averaged 25 yards per return in 2022. He averaged 20.3 yards per return in 2020 with Memphis. Now, neither one of them have punt return skills. So you could put Malik Washington in punt return here too. But I think for Tajay Washington, if he's going to make the team, that's how he's going to have to contribute. Long snapper Blake Ferguson. And then the gunners I have are Siran Neal, gunner experience at Buffalo. Cam Brown has gunner experience in his past with the Giants. And Elijah Campbell has gunner experience in his past time with the Miami Dolphins. So I was going with guys off gunner experience and those who might be your gunners for training camp, at least to start. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what they do at kick return and punt return, especially to start off with Tajay Washington out of the lineup. Going to be very interesting to see what happens. So that is your preview for the Dolphins defense and the Dolphins special teams. That said, you know what time it is. Let's get into some prospect profiles of a couple of young kids we got. We'll start off with Chop. Then we'll go to Mo, Kamara. All right. So let's get into this without further ado. Starting off with Chop, the explosive pressure generator. Another draft. Another player I've talked up for months and months before it that the Miami Dolphins draft. This time one of my biggest man crunches of the draft in Penn State edge defender Chop Robinson, Demion Chop Robinson, with the Miami Dolphins 21st pick of the first round of the 2024 NFL draft. The Miami Dolphins selected an absolute freak of an athlete and pressure generator who's still a bit raw with unbelievable upside and potential. Chris Greer got Anthony Weaver, his first big young stud, after watching a run on edge defenders begin right before they selected him. Just how big of an athletic freak is he? Well, Chop Robinson has the 51st best relative athletic score ever for an edge player coming out of college. That's a bit better, but comparable to Von Miller when he came out. Chop Robinson possesses top-end twitchiness as well, displaying great bend and ability to arc around the edge, which is obviously expected given how high the line of scrimmage. What also is evident when you watch Chop is just how natural of a pressure generator and pocket disruptor he is. Not every play will result in a sack, and not every play needs to. Just watch him against Michigan and how he was basically the sole reason the Wolverines, who went on to become national champions, abandoned the pass, as he was a man on a mission that they couldn't solve or contain. After all, he posted a 20.8 pass rush win rate in 2023, which is top 10 in the FBS. The first, Robinson also needs to continue to grow and fill out his functional strength. And, he doesn't have the natural power to bull rush and put a defense enough on film yet for any. Here's the deal. Opportunities may come in bunches for Chop, given the fact that Jalen Phillips may not. Opportunities are going to be in the, it's always one thing to look at history when you're looking at these players, right? So listen, what I'm going to say is this. I do think early on, until he shows otherwise, he may see a lot more pass rush downs. I think that's pretty much a guarantee. You know what I mean? Instead of being used as an every down defender because of his deficiencies, I went over that show up with him against the run. But Chop is on record saying the big thing he's worked on cleaning up and bettering in his game are his hands, which could help him big time. Though I still worry about his length against longer offensive linemen in the league until he shows that his overall technique has been fully developed. All that said, Chop Robinson under Weaver's tutelage and in this defense, with the tools he has and the skill set he has, he can be an impact defender from day one. He can make QB's lives a living hell, and I truly think if the opportunities are there like we expect them to be and the development trajectory is upwards, you're talking about a guy who could be in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year, as the pressures and sacks will probably stack up for him. The Miami Dolphins drafted a player who could very well have Bradley Chubb looking over his shoulder and will likely replace him as a future pass rush running mate opposite of Jalen Phillips in the Miami Dolphins edge room. That's just where we're at. So, man, exciting stuff from Chop. And please do me the favor if you can. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Donate if you can, like you've seen a few do, because I'm definitely going to get demonetized. So I appreciate the donations. If anyone isn't a member yet, I highly recommend it. Here's a donation to help combat the demonetization. Thanks for the hard work, Reason. Yeah, you get it, Lemony. I'm going to get demonetized because of this all 22. So smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. All right? Because this all matters. So let's get this out. All right? So let's get into Kamara and what we got here with Mo. All right. So, could this be the biggest steal at edge in the draft? If Malik Washington was arguably the biggest offensive steal of the draft, then Mohamed Kamara from Colorado State is in that same conversation as one of the biggest defensive steals of the draft on day 3 when the Miami Dolphins selected him with the 158th pick in the 5th round. He was the best available edge on my big board at the pick, along with Grayson Murphy, and I was much higher on him than I was on Brennan Jackson, who went number 154 to the Rams, Xavier Thomas, who went number 138 to Arizona, and Jalen Hunt, who went number 94 to Philadelphia, who were all picked before him. Kamara's game exploded over the last 2 seasons as his starts went up. After starting 10 games from 2019 to 2021, Kamara started 23 games out of 24 over the last 2 seasons, amassing 16 tackles for a loss and 8.5 sacks in 2022, followed up by 17 tackles for a loss and 13 sacks in 2023. Those numbers earned him second team All-Mountain West Conference in 2022, then second team All-American Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-Mountain West Conference, and his 13 sacks led the Mountain West Conference in 2023. Mohamed Kamara is literally one of the best defenders in Colorado State history. His 30.5 sacks are second best in school record books, and his 45.5 tackles for loss ranked 3rd all time in school history as well. Well, he's also a proven leader who served as team captain in 2023. Mohamed Kamara plays with a chip on his shoulder, and it shows when you start watching the All-22, as he's the type of defender who has already admitted his draft position is motivating him to prove the teams who passed on him multiple times were wrong for doing so, which could be bad news for offensive linemen and blockers at the next level. His hands are strong, very violent, and what I loved when I watched him is how he always keeps them active. He has a solid, powerful frame for his size at 6'1", 249, but he's a really good athlete with an explosive first step, good short area burst, gets out of his stance off the snap quickly with good timing, and consistently shows the ability to convert speed to power, putting blockers on the heels. His pass rush moveset is extensive, but what he seems to prefer is winning with double swipes, chops, and rips. His motor runs hotter than the sun, as he's the type of competitor who doesn't stop until he hears a whistle, and even then, he likes to stay physical. He's a high-level pursuer from how he reads and how he sees the field to the angles he takes and just how he never stops until he puts a body on the turf. He's downright relentless. Kamara thrives with the physical aspect of football, as he loves to make contact that is felt and heard throughout the stadium, as he shows good technique with the ability to absolutely lay the lumber as well. As good of a pass rusher as Mohamed Kamara looks to be when you watch the tape, I still think he's got areas for development when it comes to defending the run. Not only is he inconsistent at setting the edge, shedding blocks against the run isn't as big of a strength for him. Kamara tends to get taken out of a play rather easily once a blocker gets inside of his pads. What I'll also say is contact balance needs to improve as well as a play. If a well-placed punch or strike lands, it'll jolt him a little too much for my liking. Given that Chop's length to his frame isn't overly ideal for an edge defender, the same can be said for Mo Kamara, who has smaller hands and shorter arm length than Chop. And, so girthy blockers with length may give him issues at the next level like it did sometimes in college. What also leads to him getting washed out by blockers is he can tend to rely on his raw power more than technique at the point of attack, while he did wind up on the turf a little more than I would like to see when I watched him. This relying on power and aggressive style of play instead of sticking to your technique to win also leads to missed tackles for Kamara, as he had a 23.4 missed tackled rate in 2023, missing 11 tackles, while compared to making 24 tackles. Needs to clean that up big time, which will be something I'm sure the Dolphins staff focus on, because missed tackles in the NFL can lead to big plays for the opposing offense. This isn't Wyoming or Boise State you are facing anymore, sir. He also is not the smoothest mover laterally, as he looks to have a bit of stiffness in the lower half of his body. Like Chop, due to injury, I expect Kamara to get opportunities put in front of him to make an impact as a rookie with the Miami Dolphins. I see him being more of a pass rush specialist than 3-down defender as well, at least to start off his career as his length, overall size, lack of technique, and inability to consistently get off blocks due to those factors will more than likely hold him back until he becomes more savvy at the NFL level due to experience with reps and being coached up by a good staff like the one we have in Miami. Due to the fact Kamara doesn't have chops, athleticism, and overall physical traits, he'll need to rely on polishing his technique much more to be extremely impactful in year one, which is not only fully capable of doing, but given how driven he is by the feeling of disrespect by his draft position, I wouldn't put it past a player like Kamara to outperform expectations and be a pleasant surprise in production for the Miami Dolphins in year one as a rookie. When Phillips and Chubbs return, the Miami Dolphins may have the deepest and most talented edge rotation, given the additions in the draft of both Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara, another rookie who I'm super excited to see grow and develop under Anthony Weaver. Man, just the drive this kid plays with and the physicality he plays with. Look at him, just finishing it. Love it. Love Mo Kamara. I love how they've built this edge room out. Shout out to Chris Greer. They did a good job. Day 3, they absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's ridiculous. Shout out to Rhino Sith, the god of the Mod Squad, for coming through and donating 5 memberships. G. Jonathan, Lizama, Caramel Spartan, Zooboy Fish, Zoboy Fish, and Sam Skeet all got gifted memberships. Go check the channel tab and go look at the updates I have for all of you guys there. All right, got a ton of updates for you guys over there. Man, appreciate all of you for coming through on this beautiful Saturday. I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. Jaggernaut says, keep up the excellent work, Reason. Here's a small donation to help you sack demonetization out of here. I appreciate it, because Monday morning I'm getting the email. It's coming down. I'm telling you right now. If it ain't, the Penn State stuff will definitely get demonetized. And if that doesn't, I think the Colorado State will, but I guarantee you the Penn State stuff gets demonetized. So I appreciate the donations and the support, guys. You know, Lemony Crawdad, Rhino, Jaggernaut, and of course the first donation, Be the Truth. Those donations go a long way on a day like today. Had well over 200 of you watching in the room today. Man, listen, here's the deal. We got a lot coming up. Tomorrow, Dolphins After Dark. Me, Brittany, Jennifer, and Neil, we're going to go over our top training camp battles to watch, because, guys, the 23rd, we are 3 days away from veterans reporting to camp. We are on the verge, people. Here we go. Absolutely love it. All right? Absolutely love it. You know, we already got 131 likes. Let's get past 150 before we get out of here. Guys, smash that like button. If you're new here, subscribe. And I believe, here's the deal. I believe players report on the 23rd, right? And I don't think media gets access till the 24th. I think that's how that works. So it looks like we'll get midweek updates. Fin Too Deep will be returning with me and Neil this week. Finish Line will be returning this week with me, Richmond, and Ball Game. Jordan Schultz was supposed to come on last week. Hopefully we can get him on this week and we can discuss Tua's contract. Hey, and here's the beautiful thing about training camp arriving. Sooner rather than later, we are going to get some answers on Tua's contract. Shout out to Jess. She says, boo demonetization. Boo is right. Boo this man. Take off your hat and throw it down. Boo these men. I can even tell you who it's going to be. It's going to be XOS Digital Sports. It's going to be the company that handles all it's going to be the company that handles all the All-22 for these colleges. That's who's going to hit me. All right. So I appreciate you, Jess, for showing some love and supporting the channel, man. I appreciate that so much. The other thing I got to do is I got to get my PayPal back up and going for all of you, because I know there's some of you like Fake Spike and stuff who only like to donate through PayPal. So, hey, appreciate all y'all for showing the love and coming through today. Don't forget to smash that like button. All right, y'all guys are the best for coming through on a Saturday when I pop up out of nowhere. Y'all are the best, man. Y'all are the best. Cannot wait to see Mo on the field with David Long Jr. Man, I can't wait to see Mo. Listen, the great thing too about Mo and Chop is if at least Jalen comes back, if at least Phillips comes back, you know where they're going to shift the protection to. You know where they're going to send the double teams. And Mo and Chop, if Chop gets reps and he gets one-on-one reps, we are going to see some results. And shout out to all of you who are playing College Football 25, having an absolute blast of the game. Amazing stuff, all right? Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I will see y'all tomorrow night, 8:15 p.m. Me, Jen, Britt, and of course, the homie Neil. Top 5 training camp battles. Until then, fins up all day, every day. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a fantastic, fantastic Saturday, everyone.